Telecom's first interview session with Claire Sadar. So, hey Claire, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, fine, except this hot weather here. Everything is okay. So, let me ask you this first question. First of all, do you think Turkey has a proper strategy against ISIS?
No, I don't think it has a proper strategy against ISIS. I think that it is um, not interested in developing a proper strategy against ISIS because it is more interested in trying to prevent the the buildup of Kurdish power along its southern border and also within its own borders. The, the ISIS strategy it has is piecemeal and is reactive. It only seems to be happening when there is a direct threat or a direct attack. Which is not helpful because it's allowed ISIS to build up this network in Turkey over the past few years, and it's put Turkey in a very dangerous position because it has a number of recruiters and probably a pretty extensive network. I mean, it's really hard to know at this point, but the analysis and the evidence indicates that there's a number of ISIS supporters within Turkey's borders, and there isn't a lot that Turkey has done to try to break into this network, beside the recent arrests, which I think those are probably just very they probably are just skimming the surface of what is actually there.
Yeah, actually the interesting point is PKK has always been, like, more than 30 years actually, Turkey's biggest trouble, and for all those years the United States were always like standing with Turkey against PKK, and they were even sharing the information and so on. But nowadays, when we're looking at the future, the PKK is looking like, actually YPG is acting like the United States, the strategic ally against ISIS. But do you think it's going to change Turkey's position in Western countries? I mean, in European Union, and especially for United States?
Do I think that the fact that Turkey is now conducting operations against the PKK is going to,
for example, like when we're seeing at the European press, all the German the officials are just talking like Turkey should stop bombing PKK, and now when we're looking at the proper situation, the only force now fighting against is PKK now. So do you think it's going to change Turkey's the importance for USA and for European Union?
I don't think for the U.S. I can't really speak for the European Union, but I don't think for the U.S. Because the U.S. sees it as such an important strategic ally, and the U.S. was honestly willing to make these kind of compromises, and has a history of kind of abandoning its support of the Kurds. So I think that the U.S. will still continue to try to make a compromise between being able to support the Kurds on the ground in Syria, and having an alliance and being able to use the airbase in Turkey to conduct these strikes. But I don't think that the bombing of the PKK is going to draw anything other than just, condemnations from the U.S. I don't think it's actually going to change the U.S.'s policies or a strategy.
Yeah. So I'm going to change the topic a little bit right now. So like you've been studying of the Turkish politics for long years. So we are also reading your the blogs and so on. So the importance of the peaceful talks nowadays is very important, I think.
Right.
When we are looking at the Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoğlu's the last claim, he said we are ready for sacrificing our soldiers. So what do you think about it? Like, do you think it is like a very bad, like something like the toxic for the peace?
I mean, potentially it is. At this point, it's kind of hard to tell. There have been bombings and breaks in the peace with the PKK earlier in the 21st century that did bring back. Afterwards, there was a ceasefire that was renegotiated. I think that the political atmosphere is extremely toxic at this point, and I think that it might be different this time around because the Kurds were promised more with the whole peace process and the opening that was given to them with rights, and to see a lot of that crushed, I think that will cause the PKK and Turkey's Kurdish population in general to really rethink about the sincerity of any promises that are given by the Turkish government, especially this Turkish government, because they were promised so much, and it really ended in a disaster this time, especially with the moves being taken to close or prosecute members of the HDP. I think that is going to really it's going to kind of poison the idea, if this is successful, that Kurds have a democratic means and a peaceful means of getting their concerns and their voice heard in Turkey. I think this is extremely problematic, more so than the bombing of the PKK, because even though the PKK has wide support in Turkey, I think that it's not supported by all Kurds, and I think that most Kurds, whether they were PKK kind of sympathizers or not, would rather see democratic means to their end rather than the violent means to the end. And if this democratic means is close to them, I think that that's extremely dangerous and will really poison the Kurdish political atmosphere in Turkey for a long time.
Yeah, so like nowadays, HDP has got a very strong results from the last elections, and
right.
Most of the journalists think that the President Erdogan is making the situation even harder than before for the fight against PKK and so on, just because the revenge because of the coalition results. So we will see what's going to happen. The other thing is, for more than 30 years, I said that PKK is the problem, and also for the wider region, for Iraq, Syria, and Iran, they have a very big Kurdish population. So the fighting with ISIS, they made Kurdish people and YPG a little bit more sympathetic for the other countries. because they are fighting against this bloody terrorist organization and so on. So how do you see the future of Kurds in the Middle East? Is it going to affect? Is it going to affect their role in the Middle East, or is it going to be the same?
I think that there's been a slow momentum toward Kurds gaining more independence and power throughout the past few decades, starting with northern Iraq and then now into Syria. I think that the Kurds are on a trajectory to gain more independence and power. Whether that's going to result in a Kurdish state, I really don't know at this point. It's possible. However, I think that we can definitely say that the Kurds are going to continue to be more important and influential, and have more control over their own politics and their own territories, whether it's within an autonomous region, or whether there eventually will be a Kurdish state. With the kind of breakdown of the central authorities in Iraq and Syria being able to control their territory, it makes the possibility of a Kurdish state more and more likely. But I don't see that as happening across all of the Kurdish regions. I think that there would be the possibility of having an independent Kurdish state in northern Iraq, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there will be that the Kurdish areas of Iran or of Syria even, or of Turkey will join that. I think that the local Kurdish authorities, say in Syria, with their independence, aren't necessarily going to give that up to join a independent Kurdish state. But you have the problem of the Kurds in Turkey, and that the long-standing fears that they want to create their own state even now, even though the PKK has given up that goal. So I don't think that that's that's going to happen in Turkey. I don't think that the Kurds are going to bring back that demand. I think they want to be part of the Turkish state, but I don't think the Turkish state necessarily believes them. So that's part of the problem. So generally, I think that yes, the Kurds are going to become more and more important and powerful, but not within a united Kurdish state, which encompasses all of the territories that Kurds make up a majority. There might be one, but that's still hard to predict, given the kind of volatility of the situation in the area and the fast-changing dynamics.
Okay, thank you very much, Claire Sadar, for talking to us. It was a good talk.
No problem.